Hello and welcome everybody. This is Joseph S. Samaniego. I'm the author of the Carolingian Age fantasy book series, and I am here playing Crusader Kings III. And full disclosure, I've played this quite a few many hours already, but this is my first playthrough for YouTube, and I've actually already started. So what I did was I created my own character here. This is Joseph Samaniego of the Samaniego Alarcons, and I haven't actually played much on this one. I just created a character today, created the coat of arms and the family name, and I made him the Holy Roman Emperor because I want to do a rather easy and painless playthrough. I've played several others that were not so easy and painless, and summarily got my ass kicked, so I would not want to post that on YouTube. So I'm doing it on a somewhat easier, and I gave him a couple I took the achievements off, so I gave him a couple perks here to help him out, just to help get the longevity, because I really love to see the effects that your character, whoever it may be, has on the future of his dynasty or her dynasty, and the nations themselves. And the Holy Roman Empire is one of those kind of cool ones. So let's get started. I'm going to unpause it now. So as you can see, 1066, it does start you at September 15th. But the months go by. So let's go. No player yet. And there's a vote, because the Holy Roman Empire is a elective state. Jesus Christ. And that's the historical fact of the Holy Roman Empire, is that it's actually an elective state, and you can see it here. You have your 8 electors. Now, as the emperor, you get 3 votes, but then the others have the other electors have their candidates that they like. So, and that's what it is. They were actually elector princes, or their formal title would be Prince Elector of whatever, like Prince Elector Brandenburg, things like that. And that is, kind of a cool way to do an empire, but it's also pretty difficult to kind of cement your longevity. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Let me get some things going here. What I'm looking at here is trying to increase the development and just really, give myself more taxes and more levies and more abilities. So it's not just about the levy. So what you look at is, here you get levies and defender advantage. Here you get the defender advantage and levy, same, but then you also get some extras here. So this is your light cavalry, damage and pursuit. So that's really the one you would want to go for on that level. And here, heavy infantry and the spearmen. I always get spearmen, but here you get the skirmishers. So it's, I'd rather take the loss of 25 levies, so I have better trained men at arms, which are found here in your military. So your men at arms, these are the pikemen that I was talking about. Spearmen, I'm sure, is what they're talking about. I'm going to get some bowmen, and let me get some. Let's see, I already got. Let's get some light footmen right now. That will help out. And since we got the money, I'm kind of looking at bowman again. Yeah, I think I'm going to go bowman again. Bowman. Oh, pikemen again, excuse me. It's been a long day. Go pikemen again. And I'm going to increase these as I go on, but right now, that's where we're going to start at. Now, I don't have a player heir, as it pointed out earlier, but I did marry the Duchess of Tuscany, so hopefully I'll get a player here. My contacts have sent me a tome, written in some strange code. Its leather covers decorated with my master's symbols. I have only been able to decipher the first few pages so far, but they are deeply fascinating. So I can get some stress and unlock its secrets, no matter how long it takes. Sell it to a fellow believer. For some reason, show it off, and then he becomes a witch, or show it off again, to someone else, and he becomes a witch. So I'm just gonna go ahead and sell the shit. You know, my focus right now. Hey, my silver tongue. Been corresponding with your Chancellor, Duke Alberto Azul. I guess that's. And I must say that I've come to see you in a new light. Perhaps you were even someone maybe called friend. Whatever. Right now at the beginning of the game, I'm really focusing more on money than development than I am anything else right now. Which sometimes other people might play it differently, but that's how I'm playing it. Alright, so I grant Count Gerald, and he sent him over to Piedmont. Okay. And a lot of this is you're really doing it as a diplomatic thing, but it also helps because the juror, as you see that word a lot here. What actually happens with that is, hey, I lost my nourished. Cool. What really happens is you want your counties to be part of the particular dukedom that they are geographically associated with. It helps with the development, but it also helps with the vassal relations. So I'll show you that in a second. So here, this is the realm map, and it has, this is the big old realm of the Holy Roman Empire. France, England, looks like Normandy's already invaded, Norway, Sweden, and you have a lot of great area over here. And let's see, it is my duty to inform you that if irrefutable evidence has been unveiled, prove that you're, yeah, okay, whatever. No. Yeah, let's say I'm sure. And I got 10 or 100 piety. So you got a lot of land. This is all the realms. But here, if you look here, these are the duchies. These duchies are really what's your vassals and what they're controlling. So in the feudal world, as what this is, your king or emperor controlled the realm, but the local laws and the local aspects would go to the duchies. So Bohemia would control Bohemia, and in this case, I believe there are actually Moravia is part of Bohemia here, but Bohemia controls Bohemia, and the Bohemian vassals, which you will see, let's show that here, counties. That's the button, right? All these vassals answer to him before they answer to me as the emperor. And that's just how it went. They pay taxes to him, and then he pays taxes to me. He's my vassal. And they have that here. And those are his vassals. So these are the different dukes. And you'll probably see some independent counts here. Yeah. And mayors and stuff. Those are some of the guys that live in the cities. But these are the people who pay taxes to me as vassals. The independent counts and then the dukes. And here you can see, because the bigger it is, the higher ranking it is. So king, emperor, duke, count. Or possibly mayor, depending on if it's a republic. So, let's see what we got up here. I can usurp the anointed kingdom of Romagna. I think that's like part of the papacy or something. So yeah, which I already have, but yeah, okay, sure, why not? We'll take it. Sorry, thought I hit the button. So what we really want to do is I want to make this land grow, while at the same time, kind of lost my track there. While at the same time being able to just do a little bit more for my own family. And she is not having a baby. So one thing I do sometimes to increase my chances of having a child. Actually, is the Roman school. Alright, so where are we? Time to declare my love. Ballad, poem, sparring, both are good. Pretty sure. I'll never read that one. Recruit one of the most senior soldiers and set out for Florence. We practice a routine each day. We spawn in the courtyard. And I defeat him. And I dedicate the victory to my wife. And she's like, oh, well, sure. You know, the height of chivalry hadn't quite come about at this point. There was some of the ideals of what knighthood and chivalry had already kind of started, especially in this area. When most of this was actually at this, especially over in this area here, was actually Frankish, the kingdom of the Franks or the Frankish Empire. Oh, no, she's okay. Oh, great. So, a lot of, you know, Charles Martel, who was known as Charles the Hammer, actually did incorporate a lot of what we later called feudalism into what he ruled over the Franks, even though he wasn't really the king of the Franks. He was actually somebody who was more important, which was basically like a count of Paris, or the mayor of Paris, I believe is what they actually called it. And that was actually more powerful at that point. And what he did was he actually took lands from the church and gave them out to his vassals, sold them. They became Alright, so, Lady Matilda, when we put my devotion to you, you should be able to sustain yourself from nothing but love. My devotion will kill me. I have managed to avoid sustenance. Well, you could tell that's made up, because I gotta eat. So, back to Charles Martel. So, that was actually how he generated a lot of the army to stop the Islamic invasion from Spain in Tours, at the Battle of Tours. He was able to recruit a lot of knights and what we would think of as knights and soldiers, because he was able to confiscate a lot of church property and sell it off or give it away in exchange for being a soldier. It's just one of the kind of you know, not so honorable ways that we've learned how to create honor systems, like knighthood and chivalric systems. And what you see here is, you know, most of these lands here are also feudal, so they have that aspect of being vassals, or in some cases, like, you know, in the Game of Thrones, they're called bannermen, you know, because those are the banners that you would have. So, now I know him. He will usually let me vassalize him, and not yet. So he's got to be a positive rating. So he's not able to be vassalized yet. We'll come back to him. Sicily here. These are Norman lands. We'll probably come down and take them later. Now, I have always liked playing as the Holy Roman Empire, because they do have the kind of a totally different system. It's a little bit more, it can be a little bit more stressful, because you know, if you do have a son or several sons, you can actually make sure that if they're going to take over, are they going to take over? My dearest, and I walk through Florence Gardens, and gesture at the green rooms for all their beauty. These are signify which rivals mine. Your own way. Where's mine? Not. The great walking from Abyssinia, which is nearly impossible to cultivate. The monastery ruin in Volterra is the only place where it thrives in these regions. So I can and I either pay $65 to get a guy to do it for me. go out there and get it. Oh, get 150 prestige. Yeah, alright. Get some prestige out of that. Alright, so let's go back down here. So I can also build... Not yet. Okay. Let's go over here and see. In Warshburg. So I do like to do the garrison. Oh, I got a daughter. Cool. Now she's my player. But... Okay, so I do like the garrison. And the walls and towers for the defense. That's always good. So my player heir is in... Primary heir is in the wrong dynasty. So obviously, they're not going to vote on an infant girl to be the empress. And in fact, I do not believe that females at this point are able to be... Well, it's a male preference, so let's see. So it's not male only, but male preference. So there are male, especially since this is a electorate, there are males in front of her. I imagine I could vote her. Let us see. Maybe not. Nope, I guess not. So, I'm gonna have to look it up too. Alright, we're gonna duel this guy. What we got food for him? And that was one of the whole aspects of chivalry, was dueling for your lady love and all this other stuff like that. That was probably a lot less realistic than what the books and what the tales will tell you. Obviously, we have those stories, but it's not really what was happening back then. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the cut-in cornerstones because I like that everything gets to be cheaper and quicker. That helps with the building. So one thing I want to show is, let's go back to counties. And I wish I could just do this, but this is the Holy Roman Empire, and it is a lot of small little counties. It is crazy just to be able to see that. Oh, we're gonna go to a feast. Okay, cool. That's pretty realistic. Especially after 18th century. Feasts were very important. That was how you mingled, you socialized, you did, you made deals. If there were deals to be made, you made alliances. You impressed people. You said, if you're not here to accept, you're not even more than this, you understand the profile the back of this title. I'm stalking through the universe. My page are right here, and my hand just right here. As soon as I reach my train and sun, my concentration is shattered by wind screen. And I'm coming from you. What man won? Alright, with what must have been a man felt like an hour, I reached the time. Matilda was on the ground with me. The shivering weapons opposite her, and just large strikes standing peacefully. And little strikes from the beast fast to the ground. For a moment, all Matilda can do is stand. But as she stumbled toward me, throws herself in the mouth. And we go. And now she knows. And I get a little prestige for that. And woohoo! And now she should get pregnant again. So it says I got a few knights. 2 few knights. Okay. Now I'm 9 for 9. Now that's another aspect here. So you really want your knights. You want more knights. So I got 9 knights. Oh, okay, whatever. But you want more knights because the bulk of your army is going to be levies. Now you have men at arms. These are separate from these guys. These are your basic. These basically are your commoners, peasants that they basically pick up some fight, and you can actually see. It looks like almost like a bill hook here, but they basically pick up whatever tools or rudimentary weapons to start fighting during the war when their time is called. These are your professionals, and these are the ones that you really want. I probably should have read that. These are the ones that you really, really want to have fighting your battles. So that's why you want to increase them. And I mean, you can see here they do have a good representation of what would have been a light footman. I would almost say that this is pretty accurate, especially for the time period. More Norman though, because it looks like it's a bigger chainmail cloth, chainmail coat, I should say, kind of like a hauberk, and then under a kind of a gambeson. I'm going to increase these guys. I'm just going to do little by little right now. And again, the pikemen, you got the gambesons here, heavy pads, just the rounded helm, probably iron, and of course the bowmen. You got to have bowmen. Again, gambesons, very light armor. This was pretty common. Gambeson would have been pretty protective. I mean, when you're talking about arrows, there's not much outside of plate that's really going to help you. Chainmail isn't going to stop plate. I mean, isn't going to stop arrows. But the gambesons were pretty protective. They were inexpensive and easier to make than chainmail. And so most people had that. And most people could be outfitted with that. It was almost just like the bows and arrows themselves. More people had that. The major difference is arrows were a little bit more expensive to make. And probably more expensive than people realized. Or people realize now. Arrows would have been, and because they would have to be crafted to be effective by professionals. Your neighbor King Kreshmir has won against Duke Mihailo of I can read it here. Dukja in the Croatian de jure war of the county of Zumel. Zahumil, I guess. Oh. Anyway, he won. And Duke Robert has won against Hive Chieftain. Okay. So Duke Robert is expanding. So that's something to watch out for. Yep, there he is right there. That's going to be something to look out for. Now, there are times that, and that's one good thing about Crusader Kings, just like in some of the other games, you get to see different scenarios. I've played this before where she will actually fight against what is basically from Sicily, and especially for this area up here, that's not the case on this particular playthrough. Alright, I can vassalize him. Alright, so now he's going to become my vassal. And you'll see, this is he's Lubeck. So you'll see that turn silver. And there it goes. So now we got a new vassal. Always a plus, always a happy day. It's always a happy day when we get a new vassal. Alright, so he converted culture. And that's another aspect of this game. That's what we forgot. You want to help with the culture. You want to be the cultural head of the world. I'm going to change that culture. And my marshal can actually start calming some people down. Now I can actually look at faith and countries. Oh, my lord, I think the young Kuno could learn a lot if he got the opportunity to study under your tutelage. Duke Otto's son crossed his arms before waving at me. Oh, he's shy. Sure. Alright. So what is this? So we got some of the older religion here. Okay. So let's go ahead and start converting. I'm not gonna. I could use this to get some claims. So you don't want us planning them. Our peasants are standing before me, souls spilling from crates, or yokes. Flower display they carry looks worn and battered, while the gift was sent anonymously. It's not hard to understand that Wolf-Hild was behind it. No, I guess not. So the steward, he can talk to culture, he can get some taxes, or he can help build. Obviously, spy master is always looking for plots. Your chancellor is kind of looking out for your best interests, foreign affairs, domestic affairs, and integrate title. And that could come in handy later on. This one for the patriarch, typically a bishop or something, is going to really be for trying to, if I want to say, hey, I want to claim this area of France, I can do that. And then he helps with kind of keeping control, training the knights, and organizing levies. And now she's pregnant again. So, alright. So, yeah, your vassals are going to expect council positions. It's good for them, I guess. When I look at the council positions, like, I definitely try to look at it from who has the what skills and who's at the top. I don't care if a vassal is. I don't play that nepotism bullshit. Alright, so I don't care about the contracts either. Heir in line. So obviously my daughter is in line for the Duchy of Tuscany and Duchy of Spoleto. So that's kind of cool. I can create titles. If you have the money, you can create titles, dukedoms. You can only have so many dukedoms though. So you got a ton of dukedoms here. That's great. It really is. I don't need that. And then you got the kingdoms. Now the kingdoms are tricky. You got to be really careful with these. What can happen? As an emperor, it's not as hard, especially if you're passing your title of emperor to your son or your child. The kings and queens will stay vassals of that emperor. If you're not the emperor, then they become independent, or they become vassals of whoever the emperor might be. One playthrough I had where I was playing as France, and I played early, so during the Carolingian age. Nice plug in there. So I played during that time period, and I created the empire of basically of Francia. Well, by doing that, I was able to avoid having, because the way the Franks did their inheritance was that they would actually inherit more or less equally. So if you had 4 sons and you had 8 realms within your one big realm, each son would get 2. Well, that's all well and good. But if you're the king of, West Francia, and you're also the king of Aquitaine, which is, I'll show that in a second. Let me just go ahead and, I guess I can just persuade him to accept the changes, whatever. I don't care. So the kingdom. So if you're the king of at the time this was West Francia, now it's France, and you're also king of Aquitaine. Yeah, I convinced him. And then you have the opportunity to make the Empire of Francia. But if you don't, and you have 2 sons, well, guess what? They each become independent rulers. So you lose realm. You lose land in your realm. Well, that happened quite a bit. If you look at, especially with the Merovingians and the Carolingians, they would basically say to their sons, or even grandsons, even a couple nephews at times, but mostly it was the sons. It was like, you would say, you're taking this land and you're going to split it equally, and that's how they did it. It's You know, it's okay in this game for that. It's the Confederate partition, or just the partition. High partition, it still splits pretty equally. Not meant pretty equally. It still splits it. However, the eldest gets the bulk of it. Now you could also do others. The Holy Roman Empire you really can't. But you could do others where they say, okay, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get, boom. You know, you're the heir. You're getting everything. So we have another daughter, Beatrix. Alright, cool. Alright, so let's go back. So I want to get some more. I want to go ahead and expand a little bit more. So like I said, I'd like to do walls and towers because you get taxes and you get a fort level increase and you get a garrison. Like I said, you really want to look at these more than you want to look at these, except unless you're getting taxes. Taxes are very important. Now the one thing about yeah, we'll go to this one. I'm sure. Oh, and burn. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the walls again. Alright. My martial oppressor is a vassal. Cool. So we get the pass limited crown authority option. Rules can change between noble partition succession lines. Titles can be rebelled, vassals can be attributed. Clean government some of that stuff's cool. Some of that stuff's just fun. But we'll keep it. Peace is doing he inquired on the second himself. Fascinates me. My vassal's taken prisoner. And then he's getting released, so I guess I don't really need to read that. Alright, let's close that. I'm gonna right click. Oh, see, I don't play the freest place by now, so those over. Because I don't know about surprise. That is how they establish that piece. I'm sure I'm not going to. No, please go on. Please. Whatever. Alright, Wiltburg. Alright, so we're gonna do. Oh, well, you know. And I think we have. Alright, so. And stresses have been reduced. So, Fulda. And of course. So. Oh, shit. I totally forgot. I gotta get a physician. So let's see if we have any physicians here before I. Because this is actually cheaper to get a physician through here than it is to get a physician by searching for him. You're a reveler. My chancellor, Duke Alberto, has worked hard to convince our neighboring realms and vassals that the peace treaty I entered with Prince Bishop Heinrich of Trent is flawed, illegitimate, and unfair to me. I am once again able to declare war on him. Now, where is Trent? Okay. Whatever. Not really looking to declare war on him, but hey. So, you get a lot of guests. The bigger you are, the more important you are, the more guests you get. This is negotiator. This is astute intellectual. She has a kingdom claim on what? That's my wife. I guess I gotta go. Honeycomb. I look forward to this party. I look forward to having an heir too. Right, so I guess we're gonna search for a physician. This is one of the decisions. I'll come back over here. I'll get to go here. Very good evening. The story of the face became exceptional. This appears in late Ontario. We spoke all evening about all manner of subjects, and instead of put out what habits, we seemed to have a lot of time. That's a good time to play. That's cool. So you want to do, these are the big ones. These are the ones you really, really, really want to do. And then, of course, here you got small ones. World is full of dangers, even to the Kaiser and his court. As per my request, my servants have inquired about other recommendations. Now they have assembled a few options to choose from. Alright, so Clemencia is an actual physician. Waltham is experienced but doesn't show nothing. And Emmerich is enthusiastic, so we're gonna go with her. So this will put me a little bit of debt, but I'm making it back up. Alright, so we'll play the phone play. Okay, we'll have an interesting conversation again. So these are just decisions you want to do. These are important. What if you said, I'll remember the day he spent Israel with God's house. Now it's time to wash all the once more resume. Yay. Okay. And I can actually imprison her. I just hired her. What the hell? Okay. I really give a shit. Okay, here you go. I'll do this. I'll do like that. Hey, yeah, I love that one. So she's trying to do that. Great. And I guess I'll pardon her. We're pardoned. So I get to pardon her from being a fornicator. I mean, sure. She had a baby out of wedlock, so that's against the rules in 1071. So, and throughout the Bible Belt. So, let's see here. So we're almost out of debt, so that's good. Wish real life was like that. So let's take a look at some other areas here, because we have a lot of history here. France, as you can see, is partially what they are now. We haven't got into the kind of the France-England kind of rivalry as of yet. It looks like Godwinson's still the king, so he's fighting against Normandy and losing. So that will probably come up, and you'll see a lot of what kind of did transpire. But it doesn't always happen that way. Alright, so the bastions and current walls are done. Down here, you have the Spanish kingdoms, Galicia, Leon, Castile, Navarra, Aragon, and Barcelona is that. Yeah, Barcelona's a duchy. So, Duke Conrad accused my steward Berthold of having committed sodomy together with his lover Friedrich. This cannot be what the Lord intended. Who gives a shit? Of course, you had to pick that. So really, what you have was several of these all from the same family. And again, I'm gonna pause it. And again, this was the idea of splitting it up in almost equally. Not quite equally, but so Jimena, the family here, Jimena, and I don't know, yeah, Jimena, and my bad. I don't think they were Jimena. No, they're Aragon, and they were not Jimena. But there is a countess over here who is Jimena, somewhere over here, I think. But yeah, that's right here. Sorry. She was a princess. And so what happened was they actually all come from this guy. Fernando the Great, who was, as you see, Kingdom of Galicia. Was he also? Yeah. he was... I can't remember. He was part of his... They were part of the family, but they were different. Different line. But basically what it was he divided his kingdom amongst his children. And that's how you get the name for, basically Fernandez. Because it was Fernando. And when you add the Des at the end of it, it becomes kind of like almost like son of or child of for a lot of these. You'll see like Gonzalez and Gonzalo is the guy's name. Is his dad's name. So it almost becomes like child of. It's like the Adinvich in Russian or in the Norse, especially the Scandinavian, or as you just saw here, even which is Anglo-Saxon, Godwinson. Harold Godwinson. Because guess whose dad is? Harold Godwin. So it's kind of like that. You add in the moniker of whose son you are. That's what this was. And he split his kingdom amongst his children. And that's how you get the Spanish kingdoms. So let's unpause now. I got a perk. So we're going to go taxes. I want to get more taxes. Now you got to be watchful because, like I said, you get levies, but as you look through more of them, especially when you come over here, you get different level. You get the King's Guard, which gives you more knights. You get tactics. You get the toughness for your people. So you really want to kind of watch what you're getting. I know a lot of the idea might be to just go through and get everything, but you really kind of want to pick and choose. I will flip and flip back and forth over some of these. So we haven't got to the cool parts yet, where you get to kind of start making alliances. Although I have a few, or get to, start being diplomatic. But that's how the game goes. Sometimes it goes slow. Sometimes it goes really fast. Just all in how it's playing. Control. Wherever I go, Wolfhild, a commoner from Trento, is sure to follow. The look in the eye, the words on her lips. I know exactly what she's after. So this is where you can get kind of interested, because obviously she's trying to seduce you. You can also be the seductor, but here she's trying to seduce me. And the aspect of what you want to do with this could have some very serious consequences. Obviously, you could keep her as a lover. You could, these two means you take her to your bed. One, you keep her. One is just a one-night stand. Either way, she can get pregnant, and that becomes a consequence for the future. Do you want to have a child that would basically be a bastard child, but at the same time could be used for diplomatic purposes, or it could end up being your heir? You could just turn her away, and then there's also, you can, put her out there, or you can just have everyone leave you alone. So I'm not having a son yet, so I'm gonna take that chance. And yep, too good to be a one-time thing. So you're basically just saying that they're gonna continue it. I'm not too concerned. I'm taking that chance because I really do want a son. Now, the other aspect of that is dependent on where the hell did I go? Sinful bishop exposed. Oh, woohoo! Depending on what happens, this is the heir for my lands. So everything except for that. So all this, it's going to go to her as of right now, and that's great. But her lands also go to her as of right now. So if I were to have a son with Wolfhild, then and legitimize him, yeah, he's going to get all the lands that I have, but he won't get the Tuscany. So that could make some things very kind of complicated. What? Why? How? There is never a quiet moment my daughter and heir, Emily, almost like saying Emily, is so full of questions. I do my best to encourage her curiosity, but sometimes I cannot help but get exhausted in a constant stream of thoughts and queries. You're dead. Oh my god. So she's curious. Now this is another aspect of the game that's kind of historical. Now she's getting curious. You could, and it's a little early to do it, but it says curious children do well with diplomacy. So there's diplomacy, obviously learning. It's kind of a, 50-50. And then here it's saying she might struggle with the martial education. And it's 50-50 here. So just something to think about for future. I usually don't do any kind of wedding or spousal stuff for them at this age. It's just, there's too many things that could happen. I know that was part of the culture back then. It was part of the world, but what happens, and I can explain it more in a minute, is that you're talking about a decade more. There's so many things that can happen. Alright, so he's switching to Insular Christianity. Whatever, that makes you happy. Insular was a big Irish, Welsh, even Scottish deal. You could take a look at it here. Insular Christianity was much more, it's like the hermitage almost. That was a part poverty, and then they did actually have multiple wives because they found some passages in the Bible that said it was okay. Ruler embraces heresy. Ruler embraces heresy. So again, like I said, you're talking about, if I were to sit there and say, okay, I want you to marry the prince of this, that prince could go into war and die. It's just too much that could happen. They don't get married until later on. They're just betrothed. And it's just, for me, it's not worth doing it right now. Yep. You can usually tell when they change their portraits if they're pregnant or not. It's just not something, I'm not going to go. Screw you. For me, it's just like I'd rather wait until they're a little older to start planning those alliances. Alright, so this is Marburg. And this one, he already got a barracks, so I'm going to go ahead and just do the wall. Now, on this one, I'm going to be able to do a new Holden, and it's going to be a castle. I'm going to do the castle Holden, and several of these I think I can do. Castle, and that's going to be a temple. So there's some, you have to have a temple first in a city, and then you can do another castle, which will end up being a barony. Baronies are lower on the ranking, they always have been, than the counts. And it depends on where you're at, on what they're called. Here, they're called counts. In most of the continental Europe, they're called counts. And then you have baronies beneath that. Typically over here, that's a bishop. There are earls. So your earl is the equivalent of a count here. And then within the earldom, you have the baron. So it's a baron. Well, actually, he holds the barony title, I guess. Because that's Ipswich. So maybe that was a bad example. But you have the baron. And so, a little technical difficulty. But now I'm back, and I get to vote in here because I have a son now. So I have a son, Prince Joseph, legitimate son. Actually, I have two sons, as you saw. But Prince Joseph is my legitimate son from my wife. And he is now my player heir. And he is actually her heir as well. So we're going to cut it here in a few minutes. Now, the idea that I could do here is, or I've already done it. I might have, nope, legitimize him. I can legitimize him, make him part of my house, or he will create his own house later on. But my house, which now has 5 members, will grow as they have children. I have other children, and that branches can form, and that's when it's going to get real interesting. And we'll be back with a lot more of that later on. I'll probably play some and then push it through to show that a little bit later, kind of show how that happens with a lot of the historical aspects of that. You might have seen in one of my videos talking about coat of arms. That is where you'll see some cadet branches. You saw it right here, actually. One, the Himena Papillona. It's part of the Himena dynasty, but it's not the main line, so to speak. So that's kind of where that will come in later on. But for now, we're gonna end it here. And thank you for watching, and hope you enjoy. If you have any comments, be sure, don't forget to like and subscribe, but also come back next time. Yeah, I'm not going to upload right now. I'm going to pause it. Come back next time, and there'll be more history, and probably you'll see my children grown up, and seeing how they affect the world. So let's end it on that, and take care. And again, like, subscribe, check out my books, check out my links, and thanks for watching.